time aboard. This is the Miles to Go podcast. And now here's your host, Ed Pizza.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Miles to Go podcast. As Mr. Kerr and I sit here taking a quick break from Easter Sunday and our time at church, it's time to zoom through a bunch of topics. And Mr. Kerr, I have a question for you.
Okay, I got an answer.
I was going to ask this in pre-show, but I'm going to ask it now. If you're watching on video, is it a Yokohama Bay Sox hat?
It is not, because first of all, they're the Yokohama Bay Stars.
Okay, so I was close.
This is my Sharpsburg Youth Baseball assistant coach hat that we have to wear during the games as I coach Thomas's team this year. So that's what I got on this morning.
Man.
SYB, if you can see in the video.
I was trying to figure out what the SYB was, and I went a little... No.
But the Yokohama Bay Stars... The Bay Stars did have their opening day in the Nippon Professional Baseball League yesterday, and they came out victorious. So if you're ever going to Japan and it's baseball season, I highly recommend, even if you think you don't like baseball, you will like a Japanese baseball game. So go have fun.
All right, so I wasn't too far off the bay. Like, the Yokohama's on your radar.
It always is. Yeah, we're talking a lot about going back very soon as we want to. I've been saying this for years on the podcast, but they're the right age now. Show Thomas where he was born and make sure Mary's old enough to remember as well.
Yeah, I can meet you there. I'll be there in July. You and me. Let's do it.
It's gonna be toasty.
Yeah, well, hopefully past the rainy season, though. All right, so we decided we're going to try and get through as much as possible today on a long list of topics that all have some value to us and to the audience, hopefully. So we got a recap of my Disneyland trip, your firsthand experience with the new United Seat Alert feature, your first-hand experience changing your stay patterns for the Double Hyatt Nights promo. We'll talk a little bit about that. My time at the time in Manhattan, the Priority Pass changes, United pooling, and then the Southwest DFW expansion. I also put on the list, if we get to it, the Robinhood card, and then pretty massive changes to the Hilton Honors AMEX Business card, which sort of slid through under the radar for me, but honestly are probably more painful for me than the Priority Pass changes. So with all that...
Let's do it, man. 3 minutes on each. We're going to do a hot potato topic show for everybody today.
Hot potato. All right. Housekeeping stuff. He is at Kerpoint on all those social media channels. I am at Pizza in Motion. At Miles to Go Podcast on Instagram and TikTok is where you can see clips of us doing silly and stupid things. We do that pretty often. Text us or leave us a voicemail at 571-293-6659. And you can email the show, ed@pizzainmotion.com. And a quick shout out, Mr. Kerr. While we were in New York City, we were at Serendipity 3, which, as you well know, is a glorious place of overpriced entrees and ice cream.
Overpriced being the key word there on that one.
Overpriced, but the kids wanted to go again. We haven't been in a very long time. So we went, and we were standing in the foyer. It was raining, and they have in most New York City buildings, they have they put the little tent outside the front door during the cold months. They hadn't removed the tent yet, thankfully. So all the people waiting for their tables were all crammed in there. And as you well know, I have a bit of a unique last name, kind of like you. And they poked their head out and they said, Piazzarello party? Stellar pronunciation. And I go, yeah, Pizzarello. And a woman to my left goes, Edward Pizzarello? I turn and look, and she introduces herself as Michelle. She has Dr. Points and Passports on Instagram. And she had been a fan of the show for just about a year. They were in New York. They were going to have a little Serendipity 3 with their family, and then they hopped on a plane the following day to go to my favorite place in all of the world, and they're in Italy as we are recording on their way to Venice. So
that's cool, man. Pizza, Piazzarello, recognized in the public. Piazzarello? That's what I'm going to call you from now. Piazzarello.
So one of these days they're going to pronounce it correctly. It may be my eulogy, but one of these days it's going to get pronounced correctly. All right, so since we're in New York, let's start there. Let's talk about hotel stays. So first off, Hyatt has a double nights promotion for two of their brands right now, the Thompson Hotels and the Dream Hotels. And if you didn't know anything about hotels, and you were just going off of the sound of the name, you might think that Dream was, well, a dream. So this promo runs until the end of June, if I remember correctly. And it appears to have changed your stay pattern because I don't think you were a fan of the Dream, and yet when we saw each other in New York, you were laying your head down in the Dream later that night.
Dream Downtown. Dream Midtown I will never stay at again. Dream Downtown it's been perfectly fine, I would say, but I had 3 nights there, so I was hoping for the 6 nights. Just like you, I really want to hammer that needle down hard on the 150 nights this year, so I was going for the double night stay, and it posted overnight while I was sleeping. Got all my points, and I got 0 elite qualifying nights instead of 6. So I look back and it was just the member rate that I booked, which of course,
Right,
I was like, did I click something weird here that didn't qualify? So maybe just a little glitch there on the double nights posting. We'll shoot my concierge an email that hopefully she can get to tomorrow. So I have to say, man, I got you every time I've stayed at the Dream Downtown, I have gotten a suite upgrade, which for New York City is rare. This time I did not. And the other times I've stayed at the Dream Downtown, I've got an interior room that is faced the pool. I like that because it is quiet compared to the regular street noise of New York, which you're going to talk about in a second. And the Dream Downtown room that was facing on, I think it's on 8th. It was loud, man. It was loud. So not a fan of that room. Hotel, again, perfectly adequate. I did go to the gym. I'm trying to get back in shape while on the road again this year. And they had the lights dimmed almost all the way down in the gym. And I walked in there and there was 2 dudes working out. And I was like, you guys find the light switch? He's like, we can't find it. I was like, why are we working out in the dark here? And we couldn't find the light switch. So anyways, that was it. But 0 elite nights instead of 6 posted. And I will update everybody on next week's episode after I hear back from the concierge.
Yep. So I was uptown, I guess not quite uptown, but uptown from you in the theater district, the Time Hotel in Manhattan, which is 49th and Broadway. So great spot for if you're going to a Broadway show or something like that from a location standpoint. I don't know where to tag this hotel in terms of where I put on the spectrum because there were big positives and some negatives. It's a category 6, just like the Grayson. So the rest of the family felt pretty solidly that they would choose the Grayson if we went back. To your point on road noise, the hotel has 2 sides, like many hotels. The rooms that start with 01, 02, 04, 06, stuff like that, those rooms face the street. They're louder. That's where we were. And then the other room that we had, because we had 2 rooms, explain in a second, the 13, 15, 17, 19 all face back to another building and much less road noise on that side because the buildings on the other side block the noise. Not really a courtyard or anything, but definitely blocking noise. We picked this hotel because I was able to confirm 2 suite upgrades ahead of time, and we were told that the property had more than one of these on a floor. Turns out they didn't. As you well know, in New York, having rooms on different floors can mean waiting 20 minutes to see your family. That didn't seem like a great idea for us. So when we got there and found out the rooms weren't on the same floor, gently pushed back a little bit on the property about it. And the front office manager popped out of nowhere, apologized that there was a miscommunication, very quickly said, hey, like, we can get 2 rooms on the same floor for you. We downgrade one of them. We refund the suite upgrade. We give you some points. Like, we're going to make this all right for you. So loved that front desk experience, even with a little bit of a brief snafu at the outset. The suite was big by New York standards. The full living room, pull-out sofa, a door that closes between that and the other room that had a full king bed, massive closet area, big by New York bathroom standards, soft seating, real desk. So, like tons and tons of space. The other room, the regular 2 double bedroom, had a desk that was bigger than the Grayson desk, had a real chair, closet, smallish New York style bathroom. So the breakfast benefit downstairs was okay, but the staff didn't know a ton about how to handle it. The service was a bit slow. So overall, I would probably give it a passing grade, but we thought breakfast was better at Grayson, and the rooms were a lot quieter at the Grayson. So depending on what you're looking for, if you want space, something like the Time can be a really good fit for you. Thought the staff was friendly. They have a nightly happy hour for guests that are staying there. You get free wine and free, cheese and meat and stuff like that. So nice little amenity add-on, sort of like a mini tiny club lounge in the bar on the 2nd floor. Rest of the family said they'd prefer the Grayson. I think the Grayson takes great care of us. Always make sure we're on the same floor. It's just the rooms are small, and as you've noted, they don't have true desks. So depends on what you're looking for. The Time could be a fit for you. I think all else being equal, for a leisure stay, we'd probably choose Grayson next time.
It is amazing, man. At 5 years in, I still do not have a go-to Hyatt. It doesn't sound like the Time would be that. The Dream Downtown. Got to go back again next week. Probably will be again just for the elite qualifying night double stay. And the Thompson's always too expensive. If you're wondering why I don't go stay there.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing to me that I do not have a go-to Hyatt in New York, and I've done them all except the Time, and I don't know if that'll be on the list anytime soon.
I think if you got a teen room on the backside, I think you'd be fine. I don't know there's a specific reason to, especially because your office is downtown. So not a whole lot of upsides to that location for you. Again, if you're going to be in Times Square or Theater District or something like that, location's perfect. And, subway stations, literally half a block from the hotel. So easy access to wherever you want to get in New York City. Also, quick recap on our Disneyland trip, because I want to shout out our friend Molly, who you know as well. Little memento in the back, my Club 33 Magic Band that I've added to the collection. We had an incredible dinner there with a bunch of people from the Slack community. Mike and Marty and Sway, Molly and her husband Kevin were incredible hosts for us. It was the first time Charlie got to go to Club 33, and he was absolutely blown away. We also got to meet Stephanie, who's a member of the Slack community as well, and a former Disney podcaster as well. So it was a really great group of people. It was really awesome for Molly to entertain us. So a live thank you to Molly. And also just a reminder for folks that the Slack community is our place to have some extra fun. You can sign up for a few bucks a month. We have happy hours on almost a weekly basis, just depends on our schedules. And then we try to do fun meetups like that. And we also had a little meetup with a surprise drive-by by Mr. Kerr this week as well. Dan and Eli and May and Steven all joined me at a bar that you suggested down in, what'd you call that? Soho? Bowery?
And NoHo on the Bowery.
No. And then you were able to do a quick drive-by when you had a meeting with the Points.com folks, and I got to say hi to some of the Points.com folks. And so had a little fun there, and then you actually swung by and said hello to the kids later on that evening, and we called it a day. So it's been a pretty busy week for Slack community meetups. I've had 2 different Slack group meetups in the past 7 days.
On opposite coast. Yeah, great to see everybody. Trying to fit, like always, everything into my hops to New York City.
Yeah.
But if you hear me or follow me on Instagram, you see I'm in New York City and you want to grab a beer, the place we went is the place I go 2 or 3 times a week, whether it's business or leisure. They're right around the corner from my day office. So it's great to see everybody. And then what was the name of your Italian spot? Do you want to give it up here on the podcast, or do we want to keep it a secret?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I don't ever want it to close. Puglia, Puglia. Some people are not huge fans of it because it's a little bit less... watch me sneeze live on the
massive
podcast.
Sneeze. That was awesome.
First sneeze live on the video pod. Puglia, Puglia. If you're an Adam Sandler fan, the guy who sings on a nightly basis was in The Wedding Singer. He's like 1,000,000 years old. It's corny. You stand on your table, you stand on your chair, you wave a napkin in the air. It's simple, straightforward Italian food. And I've been going there since I was a kid, and my dad went with his dad before that. So
it was the first time. I swooped in about an hour and a half late after I finished up the business meetings, and you guys laid out the pasta around Italy for me well. Everybody had something different, and you guys had apparently all eaten a whole bunch of food earlier in the day, and everybody had like one bite off their plate, and that was it. And I was like, we'll just pass the plates around here, pizzarellos.
Well, the portions there are really big for the price, and so yeah, it's hard to finish. We all have our favorites there, and then after we leave there, we go to La Bella Ferrara, which is just down the street, and that's our pastry shop. And so we buy cookies and cannoli and biscuits and all that stuff to bring home with us. And this time we brought home Easter bread, which, unless you're from the Northeastern Catholic, you probably have no idea what the heck that is.
No idea what you're talking about as a Southern Baptist here in Georgia.
Bingo. All right, so onwards and upwards.
Wait, we got to stay in New York. We got to stay in New York and cover the United flight home for a couple reasons.
Okay, we can do that. I didn't have that on the list, Mr. Kerr.
We did.
It's calling audible here.
It's the new technology for United and picking and letting the app try and pick your seat.
That's all right. That's exactly where I was going. Great. And the interesting thing is, I don't have this feature yet. So they said that this would be rolled out periodically. We don't know who's getting onboarded when and why, but you are onboarded for this feature.
I was. So I've had my regular Newark to Atlanta flight home per usual. I think I booked 4 days in advance, and on a 737-700, the old planes, there was nothing left, even as an economy plus or whatever, as a 1K, that I was stuck in the middle seat. So I picked the exit row middle seat, got the little option to pop up in the app and said, yep, I would prefer an aisle seat. It said, would you prefer an aisle seat over more legroom? Like, hey, we're going to move you out of the exit row and into aisle. So it gave you a little option there. And then I said it, and I was like, great, this will be great, because now I don't have to spend in between meetings or remembering throughout the week in the office to go and pop up the United app and get an aisle seat. So no luck over a couple of days. I think this was on Monday. I set that up, and by Thursday, I flew home Friday, Thursday, the day before, still in the middle seat. I went to check in, and there was an aisle seat open, and I picked it myself and moved myself to the aisle at check-in. And I guess it just, so 2 things I learned from that is, hey, maybe there really weren't any aisle seats all week. I find it hard to believe close in. Once you get close into a flight, things really start moving
upgrades, all that stuff.
Or so many other people had selected this that maybe they prioritize it by the time of request. I don't know. But then it obviously wasn't checking in real time either if I was able to move myself. So it just must be, 2 or 3 times a day it checks. So I wouldn't call it like necessarily a failure. I would just say like, okay, we learned a couple of things here, and like still be checking yourself if you're going to use this. The other interesting part was I was number 5 on the upgrade list. I was actually number 7 on the upgrade list going up there as a 1K going to Atlanta. So a lot of elites traveling, not counting on the upgrade, but I got myself into, like I said, the aisle seat and economy plus, and we boarded. Nothing out of the usual. Noticed that the in-flight entertainment wasn't on. Turned out that was broken the whole flight and didn't work. The Wi-Fi also didn't work.
Wait, whoa, hold on. The Wi-Fi didn't work?
Yeah, but they couldn't turn the TVs on for the in-flight entertainment. And I was like, this is why we download podcasts. But I was sitting there after boarding was complete, and the gate agent walks on the plane, comes up, and he's like, Richard. And I was like, yes, sir. He handed me 1B. So moved me up to 1B in the Battleground upgrade. But why numbers 1 through 4 got skipped, I have absolutely no idea. But we sat down, and the flight attendant was like, oh, Richard, good, lucky you. She's like, I just want to let you know, we didn't get catered, so we don't have any snack baskets or anything for the first class flight. I was like, you guys are not good. All right, that's fine. So I was absolutely exhausted. I leaned the seat back right after takeoff. Man, I fell asleep listening to a couple podcasts. I literally woke up when the flight attendant was like, we're landing, Mr. Curry. You need to raise your seat back up. So no sweat off that. And I love the upgrade, but I really feel bad for numbers 1 through 4 on the upgrade list.
Yeah, you mentioned this, and I think somebody else in our group, maybe Mike, mentioned that maybe it was couples that got skipped over. And I did look at the list real quick, and there were 2 people that had similar last 3 initials, so it's possible that was one of them. The other could have been a couple as well, but that was a sort of an odd flight. Some point as well, we're probably going to have a conversation. Not that we want to, just trash various travel providers. But I mean, there's just a lot of bits and pieces about United that just don't seem like they're pointing in the right direction right now.
Now, I would say if I paid for a first class seat and the in-flight entertainment worked, the Wi-Fi didn't work, and you didn't get catered for first class, I appreciate the bigger seat, and I certainly took advantage of it, fell asleep, but again, I didn't pay for it. I'd be a little upset if I was a paying premium passenger. From my side, I didn't have any complaints, slept great. But man, I was like, ooh, that thanks for you people who paid $700 to sit up here or whatever.
Yeah, and I would say still surprised that a 1K is 7th flying between those 2 spots, just because, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, like, you're flying into a hub, but man, I mean, 7th at 1K? Like,
it was also weird times. It was like a Tuesday afternoon going up there, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, I thought we'd have more people off the list by now, like upgrades. Elites would have dropped tiers, and that doesn't seem to have happened in the way that I think maybe we expected. I also think prices are, like, I thought prices were coming back down, but no lie, I have a flight coming up for Vegas I booked, which is still a couple weeks out, and the cheapest coach seat is $800, and first class is $2,600 on a narrow body. I mean, just insane prices.
Yeah, it was a little expensive getting up to New York last week. Again, I book close in all the time, so if you're like, of course you book close in, like, I know what close in and far out prices are between Atlanta and New York. Yeah. It was still pretty expensive last week. So
yeah,
I don't know, man. Maybe everybody's still traveling. That cash isn't running out yet.
Quick update on something that we talked about recently. United Mileage Plus pooling is apparently up and running. I haven't tested it yet, but I was able to log in and pull it up. A couple people had mentioned to me that it was up after we recorded and said that it wasn't. That does appear to be live. Be curious if anybody has firsthand experiences with this yet. I haven't tested it. I don't mind. I don't have a problem testing it per se. I think the tough part would be, who would I choose to test it with? Because I wouldn't want to set someone else up where they couldn't get what they needed because they were, 90 days? You can't transfer it to another pool or whatever. So if there's somebody out there who I know who wants to be a part of the pool, let me know and we can try to test it. But I would love to be able to offer some firsthand feedback for people on how this works, how long it takes, how easy it is to book, all that stuff. Like, we assume it works, but don't have any firsthand experiences on it so far. How about you?
No, but I'm going to set the kids and Emily up into the family pool and see how it goes.
Do they have any miles in their account, their United account?
They do, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a good idea. You're a smart guy.
Yeah, they do.
All right.
So we'll see how it goes.
All right, Mr. Kerr, what is the biggest news for some folks this week? But I'll editorialize and say, not the biggest for me. Priority pass changes. So do you want to detail this one or you want me to?
So priority pass for the Chase Sapphire Reserve and my beloved Ritz-Carlton card, the reason I just paid the annual fee again, I think 2 months ago, have lost.
And I think one other card too.
Is it?
Thought so. But anyway, those were the 2 big ones for sure.
Yeah. You lose the restaurant access, pretty much going back now to the basic version of lounge only. And I have to say, man, my question that I don't know the answer to yet is, I was like, well, I just paid that annual fee, and one of the big reasons is for the restaurant access because they have the Sam Adams Brew House now in Atlanta, which has already 3 times this year been clutch for the family to grab lunch because if you're not flying, my family now doesn't have lounge access outside of Priority Pass. The only other Priority Pass lounge in Atlanta is the Club, which is just not good. So this has like been great. So I was like, all right, I'm going to pay this annual fee again. What now, man? If I write Chase and say, hey, I just paid this annual fee to keep this benefit for another year, you think they're like it? That seems like there might be some, given how robustly regulated the credit card industry is, there might be some recourse there.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, so I don't use this benefit very often. I think I used it once, and I, like some folks in our profession, hobby, whatever you want to call it, use this excessively and use it to justify large annual fees on their cards. I think your use is a little bit different in that, you do have limited options at your home airport, good place to grab a snack while you're waiting for a flight. If you just paid the annual fee on that card, yeah, I mean, I think you have an argument. I don't think Chase is going to be open to that argument without you being willing to push on it.
Yeah.
But I'll be curious to hear what happens because I do think it's at least part of the mix of benefits on the card because you get. Remember, do you get free certificates with your Ritz card?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you do get other benefits. I think that would be their argument. On a card like Chase Sapphire Reserve, I mean, don't get me wrong, Sapphire Reserve has other benefits, but Priority Pass is one of the bigger benefits for a card that carries a pretty big annual fee and doesn't allow you to earn free night certificates or stuff like that. You also get the higher redemption rate when you're redeeming points to buy travel. But I think Priority Pass is a much bigger part of the picture of a Chase Sapphire Reserve cardholder. Would you agree with that?
I think the elevated Priority Pass, yes.
Yeah.
Because you get the other, it's spa treatments, it's the video game places, the gym, all that stuff included.
Yeah. Yeah. So from that standpoint, I think Chase Sapphire Reserve cardholders probably have more of a beef here than maybe the Ritz cardholders do because you still get your free night certificate with Ritz. Either way, I'd be calling and asking for something. But I think it's another knock on Sapphire Reserve. I think, there are discounts and value and all that stuff from Sapphire Reserve. It's still not a card I hold in my wallet, and it's not a card I think I'll add just because with that annual fee and another chip away at the benefits, it's just, I think it'd be hard for me to make enough money to save that annual fee.
If you have the CSR, I don't know why. There's other much more affordable, still as rewarding. There's a few things you get 10x on Lyft instead of 5x, but for that annual fee, it doesn't matter. You're not.
That's a lot of Lyft rides. We've done that math on the show.
You're not coming out ahead. So if you still have the card, I'm not sure why. But this will be great. We'll call this week and see what they have to say on the Ritz card. I think I just paid that in February, so we'll be like, hey, what's going on here? Because it literally is if we're flying Frontier, right? $39, $19 flights or whatever. We roll into B. Grab lunch at the brew house down to the Frontier flight, and it's a great little airport trip. It's clutch. You got to, trying to feed the kids lunch in the airport. I don't want to pay whatever airport prices are. So we'll let everybody know what they say.
Yeah. Chase Sapphire Reserve, $550 annual fee. I want to look that up to make sure I had it right. And look, they have a couple of Chase Sapphire lounges. Maybe they're up to 3 now, but nowhere near the sort of breadth of coverage where losing the restaurant benefit isn't going to hurt some folks like you. So. The other one that popped up on my radar, and this was a post from Dave at Miles Talk. I hadn't heard this, and so this was a little bit under the radar. The Hilton American Express Business credit card, which is a card that I carry in my wallet. So it's actually the card that I use to bulk up on Hilton points because Hilton's, I would say, our secondary hotel provider, made some pretty massive changes to the card. So they raised the annual fee, which wasn't a big deal. It goes up to $195. But what they got rid of is they got rid of all other bonus categories on the card. It's 12x for purchases made directly with a hotel in the Hilton portfolio, 5x on all other eligible purchases up to $100,000, and then 3x thereafter. And tough part about it is if this is a business credit card.
Wait, 5x on what?
5x on everything else. So all other eligible purchases. So if you get 5x on, all spend up to the first 100,000. But for a business credit card, that's a big deal because now you get 3x spend on unbonused spend after $100,000. You also lose the free night certificates, which is a pretty big deal. So there used to be 2. You get one at $15,000 worth of spend and one at $45,000 spend. It drops Priority Pass Select as well, and then all the bonus categories. So
they're trying to kill this card because they weren't making money on it, and they're like, hey, if you want to hold on to it, fine. But is that what's going on here? Why would you do that unless they were losing their tail on it?
I guess. You get statement credits for quarterly Hilton stays, which, don't get me wrong, those aren't bad. But I think, in the Hilton ecosystem, you need to be able to earn points in a hurry. And this is a tough one for me. I'm 99% sure this card will be leaving my wallet. I'll call up and see if they'll work anything out with me because I think I'm coming up on my annual fee. I think I've had it 7 or 8 months, but if not, I'm not going to pay $200 to keep this card in my wallet. I don't have enough Hilton stays to justify spending $200 extra to hold a card that earns some extra points.
Yeah, it sounds like you can go over to the Surpass and do better than that for a similar price point.
Yeah. Yep. All right, so let's talk Robinhood, man, because you brought this one to my attention. I had missed this announcement, but the new Robinhood card. Does it have a name, or is it just the Robinhood card? Because that sounds...
I think it's just a Robinhood card. Not available yet. You can sign up for the wait list. But the gimmick here, which we got to talk about, 3% cash back on everything, on all purchases.
Yeah, which is stupid good.
Call the interchange that card gets on every swipe 2.1%. You're losing, call it, again, ballpark.
It could get higher than that. I mean, the premium cards go up to 4.
But for them, no. For that card, no. Like, no bank is giving them that much. So, like, you're losing money on every single swipe. Now, everybody's like, the play is that they're going to take the cash and you get some bonuses if you keep it with them and put it into their investment accounts. So it's a purposeful loss leader. $5 a month annual fee, I think it is, or $5 a month and $5 a month monthly fee, I think is the way that they're going on this. But man, like you and I know people that are going to take them for a ride at 3%. Like once you get the 3% back, the manufacturer spenders and the gamblers of the world take advantage of this, and they're just going to take them for an absolute ride. We've seen other cards try this, and no, like the Apple card is essentially like a massive failure that's giving high cash back. It's just not affordable, man. There's a reason to do that. And even if they get this stuff into their investment, management portfolios, like Robinhood doesn't have the best track record, period, right? They were in some pretty serious trouble not too long ago. But everybody meaning people not really in the points of mile space, is like, this is awesome, this is great. Like it's just 6 months, man. Once this thing launches, and then they're giving huge referral bonuses, so it's all about getting more people into, like, it's a massive planned loss leader, but it's just going to be such a massive failure.
The only thing I disagree with is that it'll be gone in 6 months. I agree with everything else you said, but Robinhood has this history of sort of like running down a path much harder than they should. And so I think this thing probably lasts a while as a dumpster fire. And they probably shut down cards for people to do manufacturer spending, stuff like that. But they probably burn other people's money for a good year or two before they decide to shut this down or to weaken the value proposition of it.
I mean, they're giving 5% back when you book through their travel portal. And I'm telling you, you can't afford, I know for a fact, I'm telling you, somebody who runs a travel portal, you cannot give anything back on flights. You make absolutely nothing. You lose money. Every time somebody needs servicing, you lose money. So to give an additional 5% on flights, and I would say they will probably average 60 to 70% of the business in that travel portal will be on flights, and they're paying out 5%. They will lose so much money just in the travel portal. Yeah, they're hoping to make it up
on hotel bookings, but they probably
will not. Like, because it's not going to be a good experience. Like, I'm telling everybody listening, they are going to lose so much money on this that it will be interesting to see. Like, I can't wait for the Netflix documentary on this in a few years.
Yeah, I think it comes down to, and I mean, like, I'm not going to discount this. I don't think there's any way they pull this off. But I mean, this is potentially lead gen, and so it's like, can they, like, if they get somebody to move their stock portfolio over, like, you remember back in the day, I think TD Bank might still have one of these, but remember back in the day that there used to be all these bonuses for moving your stocks into one of the various stock platforms, E-Trade and all those guys. And so, like, some people would move their stock platform back and forth to earn miles and stuff like that. I mean, they're doing that because as a holding company, they can earn on the float on that money. And so if somebody gets the Robinhood card and moves over their stock portfolio to the Robinhood platform, that is good for Robinhood. Now, whether net it's positive or not, like, it depends on how much they're moving over and how long the portfolio stays there and all that stuff, because trades have gone to zero, so there's no money there. It would be interesting to see how this works out. Like, I tend to think, like you, that this is going to be a failure. I guess it's possible that there could be enough lead gen out of it that this could be their marketing budget. But we'll see.
Not at 3%, man. Like they're just.
I tend to agree with you. By the way, I looked back because I didn't have it up on my screen. I looked back for the Hilton Business AMEX card, where now it earns 5x on quote unquote everything else. It used to earn 6x on restaurants, airfare booked directly with an airline, rental cars, gas stations, shipping, wireless telephone services. So it was a pretty decently valuable card. So it loses 6x, goes to 5x on first 100,000, and loses the free night certificates, and it loses me as a cardholder.
All for the increased annual fee of $195.
All for the increased annual fee.
They must not like how that card's performing, and like, or just get rid of it. So I don't know, man.
Well, but here's the catch, man. They are taking care of us existing cardholders. I can continue to earn those rates until June of this year.
Wow, it's already April.
Yes. All right. So let's finish up with Southwest and then get the heck out of here and go chase some Easter bunnies. So we've known this is coming for a long time, but it snuck up on me. Our buddy Gary from View from the Wing wrote this story that we could see here shortly as Southwest gets to release their next schedule, which will roll into 2025, that with the next schedule release, we may see some flights at a brand new airport, Mr. Kerr, and a lot of history there in terms of how Southwest started at Dallas Love Field, but they've always said their intent was to grow at DFW when the time was right. There's space at DFW, and looks like we're going to see a bunch of new flights at the biggest airport Southwest biggest airport in the U.S. that Southwest does not existing. They do not have a presence at right now. I cannot talk.
First reaction is I can't wait for the American fare wars here. I hope we see some really good fares where Americans not very happy about this, and whatever routes that Southwest launches, the American just nosedives the fares until Southwest loses so much money that they're like, okay, that didn't work. That's a typical legacy carrier strategy, right? So I can't wait to see how that plays out from the rival perspective. But in my opinion, more Southwest flights is great for everybody. More Southwest options. So I don't. People are like, I will never fly Southwest. Like, okay, why? Like, it's
I wish they had Dulles Orlando service back, because I would fly that. I mean, that would probably be my first choice for Florida every time.
Yeah, people are like, I gotta know what seat I'm in. I'm like, okay, well then pay $20 and get A1 to A15 and pick any seat you want. Like,
2-hour coach flight.
Yeah,
sit somewhere.
Every airplane in the U.S. is the same. 3 aisle 3. You sit down. It's not very comfortable. You get there. That's it. The end. Like, I don't understand these staunch opinions. So
for a 5-hour flight, I get it. Like I get it. For a 2-hour flight, whatever. And so they did, by the way, the source that Gary has leaked what they think the first round of routes will be. And I think some of them are interesting. So BWI makes sense because that's a hub for Southwest. They're going after leisure market. So Cabo, Cancun, and Vegas, those all make sense to me. And then, so Midway is their hub. So that one should be fine. I think they'll do plenty of business there. And then they're just, they're going after hub traffic for their airlines. So they're going after Denver. They're going after LAX. They've got Phoenix and Orlando. So those are, with the exception of Orlando, those are all hubs for American and United. And they're also going to take a swing at some other off-the-map places. Nashville, which has become a more popular destination. Houston, but not into IAH, into Houston Hobby. As I look across that list, I think LAX is one of those ones. I mean, we've seen JetBlue just get crushed there. So I'll be interested to see how DFW LAX performs alongside American, who runs that route pretty frequently throughout the day. Other than that one, maybe these all look like winners to me.
DFW Orlando, all the DFW flyers go yay. So I'm sure Americans had a strong hold on that route for a long time.
Yeah, the interesting thing I think you mentioned about fare wars. The only thing that's interesting to me is this isn't Spirit or Frontier coming to squat in this route. And Southwest, as you well know, is not the lowest fare in many of the markets that they're in, especially because they're bundling in bags where
they are not a low-cost carrier. I will never call Southwest that. And people who call them that, I do not get it. So quit it.
But, so it'll be interesting to see. Like, I would bet that Southwest is going to come into the market with fares that aren't necessarily much cheaper than what American's offering. But we'll see. Like, I think that's what the experiment is, to see how this works out, because I think that, with DFW is such a massive airport, I think, there's a little bit of interconnectivity here. Like, you can flow Baltimore to DFW and then from there to Denver or Houston or Vegas or things like that. So there's some connecting traffic flow that Southwest can build here, but this is mostly going to be O&D. The leisure stuff will do fine. We've seen that there's unlimited into Cancun. But, I'll be real interested to see fares on flights like LAX or Phoenix.
Still do not understand why everybody listening to this loves Cancun, but you guys, y'all do you. Y'all have fun. Knock yourself out.
So we went I took my wife to Cancun for our honeymoon because it was the first time she'd ever left the country. That was a long time ago. You were 4. And I haven't been back since. And it's fine. Like, I'd probably go back, but there's just so many other interesting places to go. I think Cancun's just easy. It's sort of like, for you and I, we'd probably go to the Bahamas before we go to Cancun, just because it's a short flight to somewhere warm. And I sort of look at Cancun as like short flight to somewhere warm for people who live in Texas. If you're not living in Texas and you're going to Cancun, I'd want to understand why.
We're gonna get so many hate comments about that. All right, I know the hotels are fine; they're good, whatever. All right, man. Mrs. Kerr's calling me to go roll some Easter eggs, so I gotta roll.
Rolling.
Get it. I gotta roll.
Rolling. You traveling this week?
I don't know yet. Not for business. New York next week, but we might do something fun. A little spring break in the schools here, but we homeschool. But that does mean that there's no sports practice or games this week, so I feel like we should take the opportunity to go do something fun.
Lubbock, Texas for me this week. Lubbock, Texas.
Ooh,
hopefully to get
exciting.
Hopefully to get a little Evie Mae's barbecue. That's what I'm hoping is on my radar.
Shout out to the Texas Tech Red Raiders in Lubbock, Texas.
There you go. And hopefully a shout out to my Duke Blue Devils still playing next week by the time this goes live. We'll find out.
Hey, I put them in the Final Four, man. I got 3 of my Final 4 still alive, so I need Purdue and I need Duke today at the time of recording to pull it out, and I got 3 out of 4 in the Final 4.
And I got 4 teams left in my Survivor pool to try and win 10 grand. So that's where we're at.
Ooh.
All the news that's fit to print. Mr. Kerr can't wait to see what happens over the course of the next week. See if you do squeeze away on a spring break trip. If you do take the trailer out, make sure not to call me to invite me.
I did wash it yesterday at my in-laws. Got all the pollen off of it.
Oh, good Lord. All right. Well, I'm glad that was fun for you. It'll be fun for me if I see pictures or video of you doing that. So next time, ask Mrs. Kerr to take pictures of you cleaning the RV until we upload again. We've got miles to go. Wait. Whoa, hold on. The Wi-Fi didn't work?